Hello, everybody, and welcome to This, That, and the Other. I'm Magic, and we're here today with our guest coach, Phil, and he's been a member of the Gridiron community since December of '04. He's racked up over 1,800 wins, pulled in 64 conference championships, and is eagerly chasing that national championship victory, that elusive initial one that we all crave so desperately. So let's welcome Phil to the show. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me. Yeah, elusive is certainly the right word there. It hasn't happened yet. Been to a couple national championships, but just haven't quite nailed one down yet. So, but happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure, definitely. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, your family situation. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just start with my username. I think there's some confusion there, but it's Pwiest, and really there's no creativity there. It's really just my first initial of my first name, which is P, and then my last name is Wiest, which is just a bizarre German name, I guess. And I think you're supposed to say it more angrily. It's supposed to be like Beast, you know.
Yeah, I'm German, so I'm with you. I'm born and raised in Germany for 4 years, and we'll get into that story another time. But yeah, I'm actually a naturalized American citizen that spent 20 years in the Air Force. So there you go.
Holy
so
God.
Welcome,
Wow.
my German brother.
Yeah, I don't have that good of a story, but yeah, I'm out here in Colorado. I was born and raised out here. Kind of traveled all over, not for military purposes, but just for work and stuff like that. But work in the Denver area. Live about 30 miles south of there. I'm 45 years old, about to be 46 here in June, and have I'm divorced. I have a couple daughters. One is a freshman in college and the other a junior in high school. So they keep me on my toes there. But yeah, I guess that's the quick and dirty there. I even though I'm from Colorado, I ended up in high school out in Pennsylvania, outside Philadelphia, about an hour north of Philly there, and ended up going to Penn State. So I'm a Nittany Lion.
And hey, that's in my previous broadcast I mentioned that's my dream school, Penn State.
Yeah.
for what if sports, that is.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely one of the destination teams there, and I'd be hesitant just to take over that team because I'm not sure I'd be doing it any justice. So.
Well, I'm with you there because I'd be afraid to embarrass myself and embarrass the history of that school and, get booed right out of GD for what I would probably do to it.
Exactly.
Well, let's go ahead and jump right in here. I'm looking and see that you have a D2 school, and you also got a D1 AA school. So it indicates that you're not particular to one level. So which of the levels is your favorite?
Yeah. So I've actually got three teams that I'm a part of right now, and I've got two D1A teams and a D2 team, and I'm mostly partial to the 1AA. Kind of keep the D2 one there just because it's a little bit different. But yeah, I'm a coach in Liberty over there at Heisman, which would be my in the Heisman world, and that would be my primary one that I consider that I kind of my most active one, and then kind of dabble in a couple other ones. I have a team in Stag in D2 at Shippensburg, and then I kind of move teams around I'm in Hayes as well at D1 AA, and I just recently moved over to a kind of a rebuild there, or actually a startup at Charleston Southern in Hayes. That school doesn't have a whole lot of history in that world, so I'm going to try to rebuild that and see what I can do there. So,
well, good luck. I know rebuilds sometimes can be fun, but on the other hand, they can also be extremely frustrating.
Yeah, it's gonna put a lot of losses in my record there, but that's okay. I'm not concerned about that.
You're not chasing that perfect win-loss situation.
No, it means no. I mean, it's nice to have, but it doesn't. It's not that important. No.
Yeah, I've learned a long time ago that as the years pass, you look back and you're like, what season was that I lost those many games? And you realize, who cares? I'm having fun right now. It's all about today.
Right, exactly.
On your recruiting summary page, how do you set up your 5 priority levels? That was a recent change to the platform Gridiron Dynasty, and I like it. It's better than what we had before, essentially. But now people do things a little bit different because of the numbering system and that there are 5. What do you do with yours?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I was actually very happy with that change. It's a simple one, but I think it does come in handy just trying to organize your recruits. And so what I typically do, is after I get, my few of my recruits in there and, have some actions on them, anytime a player, or a recruit, I should say, I get them turned green, I move them up into the number 1 spot, just to sort them all together as saying, okay, those are the ones that are pretty much locked in for me. And especially in the 1AA, if I get on a recruit and then all of a sudden one of those 1A schools comes down and takes that from me and I'm still on it, I'll move that into the number 5 spot as just kind of a ranking standpoint and saying those 5 recruits are probably ones that I'm not at all going to have a chance with. And so I put those down there, and then anytime I'm yellow on a recruit, I move those up into the number 2 spot, just to kind of group all those together. And then if there's some players that are either green or yellow that I'm not, either their potential isn't, kind of where I want it to be, but maybe they're green or they're yellow, I'll move those into the 3 or 4 spot and just kind of keep those hanging around in case I need to somehow pick those up at the last minute if recruiting goes south. So that's kind of how I look at that page, I guess.
And you do that with all your teams, I'm certain. And that's the next question is, do you look to run all your teams the same way, or do you run each one differently based on the level where that team is, or maybe the previous coach's setup?
Yeah, no, for the most part, I run all 3 of my teams pretty much the same. I don't even know why I said pretty much. I run them all the same for the most part. I've thought about doing, kind of running a different offense or maybe different defenses and different ones. But I found just by the way that I organize my formations and my game plans and stuff like that, that there's just not enough not enough of those templates out there for me to have more than just a few styles out there, I guess, if you want to put it that way. So no, I run them all pretty much the same.
Well, Phil, it's been a great first segment. We're going to go ahead and take a break right here. So don't go too far, folks. Come back and join us right after this.
I remember when my grandfather...
5.
So welcome back, everybody. We're joined today by Phil Pwiest, and he's telling us a little bit about how he set things up and what he looks for. And my question to him at this point, next on the list, is any real-life coaching experience, and if so, what sports and what level?
Oh, wow. That was an unexpected question. I don't have I don't think I have any real life coaching experience. I did help out a friend of the family several years ago, probably 10 plus years ago. It was like my dad's friend. He had a son, and he coached a bunch of 9th and 10th graders. And so they just needed some assistance. They needed some help coaching, and they reached out, and I'm like, I don't have any experience doing this. And they're like, we just need somebody there. to kind of organize people and move people around and all that and keep the kids in line. And so I went and I coached one season, and I really didn't do any coaching. It was more just about, making sure the kids ran off the field and ran on the field at the right time and doing those types of things. But, it was an impressive, for 9 and 10-year-olds, it was still an impressive endeavor, and a lot more than I thought it was going to be. But outside of that, I played in some flag football leagues and ran them, and but it's just hey, go out there and play. It wasn't really anything anything organized.
No Super Bowl rings on your finger.
Nope, none of those.
Phil, if you had to drop all your teams but one at this point today, which one would you keep and why?
Yeah. So I think I kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier. That Liberty team in Heisman.
Liberty.
Yep. Would be the one that I keep, and that's been the world that I kind of grew up and learned the game in and gotten better at. And I'll give a shout out to my my other coaches there in Heisman in the SWAC. But Jackson State, Blaines and Starfinder over there at Gardner Webb, and Warrior at Grambling, and we have a new one that joined us in G. Murphy over at Mississippi Valley State. But they've all, one of the things I like about that world is, and as well as the division that I'm in, or the conference, is those coaches keep me competitive. I mean, they're going out there, and I think we just had a recruiting class go through, and I think we were all in the top 20 or top 15 or something like that. And so, they keep me honest and make me want to get better. And every time we play during the regular season, it's just a battle. And that's what keeps it good. And so we got a nice mix of, real live bodies in that conference, as well as, some Sims that we can take a break every once in a while. So that's probably where, if I had to choose one, I would stay there.
Now, you mentioned earlier about running all your teams the same way. And the next question, ironically, I should have moved it up when I saw it. And what's your preferred defense?
Yeah, I run a 3-4. There's a lot of good advice and guidance out there on the message boards. And, I think Eric mentioned this yesterday, and perhaps you did as well, that, some coaches say, hey, pick one or two, styles and just kind of stick with it. And seasons ago, I shouldn't say years ago, but seasons ago, I switched over to the 3-4 due to some of the reasons that the other coaches had mentioned, that, when you're recruiting, there's typically a lot of good linebackers out there that you can pick up pretty cheap, and they're really good. And so I switched over to 3-4, and it's been working for me.
Well, you mentioned reading the forums. How often do you read the GD forums?
I log in, probably like everybody who's active in here. I log in every day, several times a day, especially when recruiting is going on. And I kind of go through a process of, log in and, check my scores and, run the Wishcast and see how my team fared, and then go through and make some adjustments. And then I usually always end up, just checking out the message board. So I think every time I'm on there, I'll go see what's going on over there. Obviously some days, there's quite a bit of activity, and other days there's not a whole lot, but yeah, I'm on there probably more than I need to be.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take a break at this point. Thanks, Phil, and listeners, don't go too far.
Damn.
Start your day the Wheaties way. Don't just get up, get high. For a limited time, get a free Wacky Roach Clip or Mini Fun Bong in specially marked boxes of Wheaties.
Silly will have it. They're great.
Wheaties, breakfast of champions.
Spearmint?
You're close. Give up? It's wintergreen.
All right, yeah. Gee, your ass smells terrific.
Cover up that funk stank with new rectal mints. They make your farts smell so good. Every mint contains a gleaming drop of ping sphincterol. So, the next time you feel gassy in public, let her rip.
Let's both try one.
Phil joins us today on the show, and he is in his last segment of his 10 questions. And this question is one that I have tossed around and done different experiments with myself, and I still don't have a solid answer or preference. But the question is the proverbial kicker-punter question. You keep one of each, just one or none, and why? That's a good one.
That is a good one. I've seen some discussions on that on the message boards about that. I keep both a kicker and a punter, and quite honestly, I don't spend a whole lot of time in the recruiting search, even really looking at either of them, maybe to my detriment. But yeah, I just, I've seen some of the comments out there saying that, if you're going to have one, it needs to be a kicker, I think is what they say. But, I don't know. I just think it makes sense to have both. I've never actually experimented, not having them. The only time I think I've ever seen or ran a team where, I didn't have one was during the exhibition games where I actually have to go recruit a kicker or a punter, and I don't have either one, and it doesn't seem like it goes very well. So, but usually it's like I don't even know who does it. Maybe the quarterback or something's out there.
Yeah, usually, and that's what I was going to say. The quarterback generally in those exhibition games where you don't have a kicker. Actually, in the regular games as well, if you don't have a kicker on the roster, it's generally the quarterback. And it's been my experience that it's the most worthless quarterback on your roster that they throw in there for those 8-yard punts and those missed 19-yard field goals.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think I need all the help I can get, so I'll keep those positions occupied by someone who knows what they're doing. So,
and that's I've actually messed up a time or two and was locked in on the kicker, and at the last minute, and I think if I'm not mistaken, this was at D1AA where a 1A school came down and offered him a bag of popcorn, and he went to play for them, and I was stuck with no money, no kicker, no punter. It was pretty sad to say the least. So that year, I believe I went very aggressive, ran the ball on 4th and 50.
Yeah. Just score touchdowns in those scenarios, Don't even bother punting or kicking field goals.
Exactly. When you evaluate a recruit, do you put more emphasis on work ethic or potential?
I would put, that's a good question. I would have to say, as I'm just sitting here thinking about another recruiting class that's coming up here, I think I would put more emphasis on potential, and I'm not sure exactly why, because I know those are both kind of very important. But yeah, I think I'd probably lean more towards potential at this point. Although I will say that I have signed quite a bit of low recruits at times, so it's definitely not a deterrent for me. But I think if I was kind of to go through a ranking or a kind of a process of elimination, I'd probably have potential higher than work ethic at this point. Although work ethic's obviously very important as well.
How much time do you spend on scouting each opponent that you're facing that night?
I think that it depends on the opponent. It depends on, obviously I'm guessing we're talking about, live human coaches here, because, if it's a sim, I just have some pretty basic things that I just put in my sim playbook, and usually it's pretty successful. But, I'll definitely go in there, probably spend, 20 minutes or so, 30, just going through. And if it's a coach that I've gone up against before and they've had some success against me, I'll try to go in there and find some weaknesses that I can take advantage of. But usually I just go in there and I'll go back and look at their prior games and kind of scout to see what they were doing, what formations are they running, are they throwing the ball primarily? Are they running the ball? But I probably should spend more time, but I think I have my playbooks built in a way where, in my game plans where usually I can just kind of eyeball everything and then run with it. And then there's obviously some coaches that I know just have my number, and I'm like, it doesn't matter what I do. They're going to beat me regardless. So I don't spend a whole lot of time on that.
I know that feeling. Phil, it's been a pleasure having you on today, definitely. And before we let you go, you've got to give us those 10 numbers. But before you do that, is there anything you'd like to add for the community?
I just say that, we're in very interesting times right now, in the world. And so, having something like this game has been a nice distraction, so to speak, and appreciate everybody who's continues to play. And I know I'm not going anywhere. So, if anybody's in either, Heisman Hayes or Stag and is looking for, an opponent to play in either exhibition or, non-conference, hit me up. I never turn down a challenge there. So, but, just appreciate you putting this on and giving us something to do while we've got nothing else going on.
Well, believe me, it's my pleasure. I definitely enjoy it. And now it's time for Lotto. What are those 10 numbers?
Yeah, I've got 10 numbers. I actually thought about this beforehand. I picked some numbers of some legendary Penn State players. So I'll say the numbers and just let everybody go look them up if they want to. But I got number 5. I've got number 11. Number 5 was Kerry Collins. Number 11 was LeVar Arrington and Navarro Bowman. Number 12, Wally Triplett and Michael Robinson. Number 22 was John Cappelletti, only Penn State Heisman Trophy winner. 25 was Kurt Warner. Number 26 was Saquon Barkley. 31, Shane Conlon and Paul Posluszny. 33, Jack Ham. 34, Franco Harris. And number 42, Michael Mauti.
That's all 10 of them.
That's it.
And I believe the next guest is Holdaway. So we'll get those numbers put into the system, and we'll randomize the questions and see what questions pop up lined up against those numbers, and we'll let him have his chance at this, that, and the other. Phil, it's been great, brother. Thanks so much for coming on, and thanks to the listeners for staying tuned. And our goal is to hit 50 states, and I think we've got 17 that have tuned in up to today. So spread the word. We'll be here.
All right. Sounds good. We'll see you out there.
You've been listening to This, That, and the Other. I'm your host, Magic.